Just 10 days before my wedding, my own father told me he wouldn't walk me down the aisle, all because he didn't want to upset my brother. That's when I made a choice. If my real dad stepped back, I would ask the man who had always been there for me. But what happened in the church that day, no one expected. I had only stopped by to finalize the seating chart. The wedding was just over 2 weeks away, and I thought it would be a quick visit, a coffee with Dad, move a few names around, maybe a small debate about whether Aunt Bonnie should really be sitting next to her third ex-husband. But nothing about that visit went the way I expected. I was in the living room of the house I grew up in, running my finger along the folded sheet of paper with the table layout drawn in blue ink. My father, Gregory Hayes, was sitting stiffly in his armchair, holding a mug of tea. He wasn't looking at me. "Leah," he said suddenly, his voice low and uncertain. "There's something I've been thinking about, and I need you to hear me out." I looked up, already sensing something was off. "Okay." He let out a long breath. "I don't think I should walk you down the aisle." I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. But he wasn't joking. "Noah's been struggling with all the attention you're getting," he said, still avoiding my eyes. "He says it makes him feel invisible again, and I can't do that to him." My stomach dropped. Noah, my younger brother, the constant center of attention in our family, even now, right before my wedding. "So, you're choosing his comfort over one of the biggest moments of my life?" I asked quietly. Gregory nodded, visibly ashamed. "He's been really upset, Leah. I need to be there for him." The silence between us stretched long. I folded the seating chart and stood up. "Thanks for letting me know," I said, keeping my voice steady. Then I left the house without another word. But deep inside me, something that had been silent for years suddenly woke up, and it wasn't going back to sleep. The next evening, I walked a short distance from my apartment to the old greenhouse on the corner of Oakwood and Sycamore. The porch light was already on. It always was at Reuben Clark's place. Mr. Clark had been my neighbor since I was 7. After my mom died, he started picking me up from school, walking me home when Dad had to work late, and even helping me with math homework when no one else had the time or energy. He never had to do any of that, but he did. I rang the bell. A few moments later, the door opened with a familiar creak. There he was, same kind eyes, same old sweater with the worn-out sleeves. "Well now, if it isn't my favorite troublemaker," he said with a warm smile. I smiled back, but I think he saw the pain behind it. "Can I come in for a bit?" I asked. "Always." We sat in his living room. The piano his late wife used to play still stood in the corner, untouched. The clock on the wall ticked steadily, just like it had all my life. "I need to ask you something," I said, setting my tea down. My voice shook slightly. "Something important." He raised an eyebrow. I took a deep breath. "Would you walk me down the aisle?" He blinked, caught off guard. "I thought, your father. He said it would upset Noah," I said flatly. So he backed out. Reuben's jaw tightened. He looked away briefly. When he turned back, his eyes were glassy with tears. "Leah, I'd be honored," he said. "You don't know what this means to me." But he was wrong. I knew exactly what it meant for both of us. And very soon, so would everyone else. By the weekend, the news had spread. I hadn't exactly made a formal announcement, just mentioned it to Aunt Delia while we were talking about the flowers. She told my cousin Nina, who told Uncle George, and before I knew it, the whole family knew Reuben Clark would be walking me down the aisle. I expected some raised eyebrows. Instead, I got outrage. "Are you serious?" Noah texted. "You letting him do it?" "That's just petty, Leah." I didn't reply. A few hours later, my father called. "Can we talk?" "There's nothing left to say," I said calmly. He sighed, long and heavy. "I made a mistake. But this feels like punishment." "I'm not punishing you," I replied. "I'm honoring someone who actually earned it." He didn't say another word. Just hung up. The phone call stopped after that. But the whispers didn't. Some relatives were suddenly concerned about how things would look. Others, mostly from my mother's side, quietly said they were proud of me for the decision. Meanwhile, Reuben prepared as if it were the Oscars. He went to a tailor and bought himself a navy blue suit. "Nothing flashy," he told them. "Just something my granddaughter can be proud of." He asked me for a layout of the church and then practiced walking the aisle, slow, steady steps, one at a time. I'd rather not use the cane if I don't have to, he said. I want to be steady. For you. The image of him standing tall in that quiet church, it hit me harder than I expected. This wasn't about revenge anymore. Not really. It was something else. A message. That real love, the kind that matters, isn't something you inherit. It's something you earn. And in 10 days, everyone would see that truth walking right beside me. The morning of the wedding was crisp and golden, the kind of perfect autumn day people hope for. At exactly 10 a.m., Reuben knocked gently on the bridal suite door, holding 2 cups of coffee, cream and 1 sugar. Just the way you like it, he said with a wink. I smiled, took the cup, and for the first time all week, I felt steady. He looked sharp in that new suit, deep navy, a crisp white pocket square, polished shoes. No cane, just the silver walking stick he carried more as a symbol than for support. It had belonged to his grandfather. Felt right to bring it, he said. When the music started, I felt my breath catch. Reuben gently offered me his arm. Ready, my girl? He whispered. More than ever. The chapel doors opened. Heads turned. Gasps followed. But not the kind that make you feel small. These were different. These were gasps of understanding. My cousin Nina already had tears in her eyes. My aunt placed a hand over her heart. And just at the edge of my vision, I saw my father, third pew, next to Noah. He didn't stand. He didn't smile. He just watched. As we reached the center of the aisle, the officiant stepped forward and lifted the microphone. Today, Leah Rose Hayes is being walked down the aisle not just by a guest, but by the man who raised her, with patience, kindness, and unwavering love. Her lifelong neighbor, her mentor, her true father in every way that counts, Mr. Reuben Clark. The applause swept through the church like a wave. Reuben gave my arm a small, firm squeeze. I'm right where I'm meant to be, he whispered. And in that moment, I knew. It didn't matter who was watching or what they thought. I had made the only choice that truly honored love. The reception hall glowed with golden lights and soft afternoon sun. Glasses clinked. Cameras flashed. Laughter moved gently through the air. But all I could focus on was the man sitting next to me at the head table. Mr. Clark. He didn't look proud in a loud, obvious way. He looked content, quietly radiant, like someone who never asked for recognition, but wore it with quiet dignity when it came. When it was time for speeches, I stood up, microphone in hand, heart pounding. I want to thank someone who's been there since I was a little girl. I began. Someone who didn't have to show up, but always did. School plays, broken hearts, first jobs, big dreams. He never missed a single moment, even when others did. I looked over at Reuben. His eyes were already full. Mr. Clark, Grandpa Reuben, thank you for teaching me that real family shows up not because they have to, but because they want to. You've been the father I needed, exactly when I needed one most. The room went quiet. And then the applause came, warm, genuine, human. Later, when the DJ called for the father-daughter dance, I walked straight to Reuben and held out my hand. May I? He smiled so wide it nearly broke me. We danced slowly to a soft, string-filled melody. I could feel the emotion ripple through the room. Guests wiped their eyes. Even the photographer paused, either to clean his lens or to wipe his tears. In the corner, I noticed my father standing alone. Noah was nowhere to be seen. Gregory looked smaller somehow, not physically, but in presence. He approached me after the dance, hesitating. Leah, I nodded once. I know. He looked down. I messed up. You did. He opened his mouth again, then closed it. I walked away, not out of anger, but because I was at peace. I had already chosen my family, and love, the real kind, had already won. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more real-life stories that touch the heart. And if you've ever had to choose your own version of family, share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear it.